ABC. Just a short video here. Doing a lot of things today. Still in the process of moving stuff out. Supposedly they're supposed to come over and put down new carpeting and tile in the bathroom next week. They keep moving things back. I guess that's, how this type thing works. But when he was telling me that too, I thought, well, Monday of next week is Memorial Day, so I doubt they work on that day. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've been cleaning out a lot of this room, got all the art off the wall, and making headway on the CD shelf and whatever else. That's my stereo there. So it's gradually coming along, and I think by the time they get over here, everything will just kind of be moving out and let them do their thing. But anyway, it's Monday, and May 22nd, and I was on the internet. I usually look on it in the mornings while I am in the process of waking up and drinking coffee. This is one of my favorite mugs, actually. I like this little stoneware mug, and it holds a pretty good mug of coffee. But I was on here today and was downloading a few podcasts for my little player here. This is a SanDisk player. It's an MP3 player, and I've had it a while. It doesn't have an external speaker or anything. You have to use a headphone for it, which I've got here. And I like listening to stuff while I'm walking. It helps take some of the helps keep walking from being boring. But I like listening to various podcasts from listening to things about comics or music or, just cultural things or, even maybe political things as far as that goes. But I ran across this podcast today called A History of Rock Music in 500 Songs. So I thought I'd give it a listen, see if I liked it or not. They're up on episode 165. So there's a lot of episodes already up on it to listen to if that's your, if you like listening to music podcasts, stuff like that. Like I said, I haven't heard it yet, so I thought I'd give it a whirl. The first one I found on here, number 165, is Dark Star by the Grateful Dead. And you can probably see that right there. Let's see if I can get a better shot of that. I may not be able to. Anyway, I'll leave a link below for it. And the one after that is White Light by the Velvet Underground, which is this one. And it's another long episode too. So yeah, I'll leave links for those if you're interested. And I know there are not enough Grateful Dead fans and Velvet Underground fans to be interested in something like that. But other than that, I found this book at the library here the other day. This is Bill Moyers, A World of Ideas. And it's a pretty thick book. And what it is, it's kind of waterlogged too. So I think I bought it for like $1 or something like that. But Bill Moyers is a Texan and broadcaster. He used to be on PBS a lot. And this is an older book. I think it came out in the 80s. And he just interviews a bunch of different people. But oddly enough, it's taken from a series. And I wasn't aware of the series back then. I usually watch PBS. In fact, on Monday nights, I almost always watch Antique Roadshow. And they had a really, really good episode on there here last week with June Nam Pike, I believe is his name, June Nam Pike. And he was an artist in New York City, more of a video artist, but and he was from, I believe he was from Korea, and it was like really interesting if you run across it. But in this book here, he interviews a lot of different people on a lot of different subjects and just kind of talks to them. One of the reasons I picked this up, though, was because he interviews Isaac Asimov here, which you can see. And this is a pretty long interview. And mostly he just talks, talks to Asimov about writing and ideas and education in our country today, which is still kind of relevant today, even though this came out in the 80s. He was talking to Asimov about, how science and religion tend to be at odds with each other. And, I wish they weren't that way either, but even more so with our past ex-president. He seemed to, I think, downplay science and upplay religious aspects, although I can't imagine him being a religious person at all. I'm talking about Trump here. Let's not, sugarcoat things or hide things. But, I don't really think they have to be mutually exclusive, and I wish that, I wish that they weren't. But I think a lot of our politicians hide behind religion and use that as a tool to garner votes, like Trump did, to sway people to vote for him. And I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. And, even though this book came out in the 80s, Asimov is kind of talking about the same thing, although back then it was with Ronald Reagan and everything. But anyway, he talks about stuff like that and about how education should be one of the main things that we should look at. And he also talks about, how now with the advent of computers, you can go outside the classroom and kind of, research stuff on your own and look up things on your own, where there's, anything, scientific, history, whatever. And, but the thing about that I thought about while I read that is that, not everybody has access to a computer. We can go down to the library and use a computer if that person has a way to get down to the library. Not all people do, and not everybody has time to take, out of their day to do something like that. So not everybody is quite there yet, even in, the current status of America. Some people just don't have access to stuff like that. But anyway, it's a series of interviews. It's got like Noam Chomsky in here, and a lot of people I don't know of. Anybody from a novelist to a sociologist and writers. So been a pretty little interesting book. Although somewhat maybe dated a little bit, but still kind of relevant to today's current climate. I know a lot of people watch this stuff because of for music. I was down at the pawn shop the other day and ran into this. This is Rush's Snakes and Arrows. And I found this down at the pawn shop the other day. And generally the DVDs go for around, I think, $2 or $3 down there. And has some interesting artwork. And I think their last album, if I'm not mistaken, was called Snakes and Arrows as well. It's a 2 DVD set, as you can see there. Opens up nicely and has a little booklet and everything, so I was real kind of curious about it. Now, I'm not the hugest Rush fan, but I thought, well, this would be kind of a cool thing to watch. So I took it up to the counter and was going to buy it. And the young woman that runs the shop there said, "Oh, you can just have it." And I said, "Well, are you sure?" And she was like, "Yeah, go ahead. It's too much hassle to ring up." So, I got it for free, and looking forward to watching it. It's a live concerts and probably has some, extras on it as well. Then I picked this up as well. This is The Haunting. Shirley Jackson's Haunting picture, which is the original. I think they came out with a remake with Catherine Zeta-Jones in it, although I prefer this one. This was directed by Robert Wise, and yeah, pretty interesting little horror picture, and I've always really enjoyed it, even though it's, a earlier film. I think this probably came out in the 60s sometime, but yeah. I think the main actress in this is, oh golly, Julie Harris, Claire Bloom, Richard Johnson, and Russ Tamblyn. It's just about a bunch of people drawn to this house, and I forget the main reason that they come to this house. I forget if it was if they were just invited or what. But the house is said to be haunted. Comes from a Shirley Jackson novel, The Haunting of Hill House, which I haven't read, but I've always been real curious to read it. And then I found this too. This is The Avengers from 1967. Sort of a campy British spy type of series. Like I said, that came on in 1967. This has Emma Peel in it that was done by Diana Rigg right here. And even though they're kind of quirky, they're still kind of fun to watch. You might could find something like this on YouTube. I don't know. This has this has 3 episodes on it. So yeah, The Avengers. And then usually listen to music right before I go to bed. Kind of like helps me settle down. And I was sort of in the mood for it, and I don't know why, to hear Boz Scaggs' My Time, which is came off one of his, I think, first or second albums. And I picked this up at Goodwill here the other day. This is Boz Scaggs. It's an anthology by him. It's a 2 CD set. But there I have the other one in the player. But I heard Boz Scaggs. It's got kind of this restaurant kind of looking deal about it. Restaurant theme or something. Pictures from a restaurant. And there he is sitting at a table. But I wanted to hear that song called My Time. And this is an anthology from 1969 to 1997. And it didn't have that song on there. I was kind of, I thought that was probably, one of his better songs that I like. I'll put it that way. But it wasn't on there. I played it anyway because I just picked it up here recently and haven't heard it. And, there's various type songs on there, from blues to, ballads, and even his disco-y type song. That's the way I think of it. That he had on the radio some time back. I'm forgetting the name of it. But, yeah. So the song I was thinking of came off of this album here, which is actually titled My Time. So, yeah. I was kind of mystified as to why, that song wasn't put on the anthology. But at either rate, it's been kind of a fun anthology to listen to and revisit some of these songs. So, yeah, Boz Scaggs. It's called My Time, and Boz Scaggs, an anthology. And then I listened to this album recently. This is Alan Parsons Project's first album. Really neat album, and it was given to me VCLT wise. And yeah, it comes in a fold out cover like this, centerfold cover. It comes with a little booklet too in the middle of it. And most people probably know this, you know, it's his Alan Parsons Project, it's a theme album or conceptual album about Edgar Allan Poe. And like I said, it comes with a little write-up sort of about Edgar Allan Poe's life right here. And then it has this booklet too that, you know, this really has neat artwork in it, neat photography. So, yeah, I didn't have this album back in the time. I had I, Robot, which was a theme or a conceptual album about, I think about Isaac Asimov's robot books. But I never heard this one, and actually I almost like this album better than that one. And also picked up a Pyramid back in the time, although I didn't keep it. Alan Parsons is kind of progressive music, although I kind of think of him as maybe progressive light, perhaps. But yeah, this album has a really neat song on it that, oh golly, his name escapes me. The singer that did that song Fire back in the day sings one of the songs on here. He's really noticeable. His vocals are on it. So yeah, anyway, this is called Tales of Mystery and Imagination, Edgar Allan Poe. One of his better albums. Has some chorus on here. Then also got this album. I used to have this back in the day. This is from the 60s, late 60s, I'm thinking. This is The Flock. Kind of a jazz rock band from back in the day. And I remember buying this and listening to it at the time, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But it's an interesting album. The only came out in about 69, and it's a real kind of has like brass in it and everything. So it's real jazzy, and it's kind of got this violin player in it who happens to be Jerry Goodman. And if memory serves, Jerry Goodman played with, I think, John McLaughlin's outfit for a while. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, sort of an interesting album, sort of a little bit avant-garde maybe. But yeah, sort of an interesting album from back in the day. Then I listened to this one too. This is Atoll, Tertio. Atoll, I believe, is a French band. And I can't really, here's a fold out. I can't really say much about it at the moment, right now, because I need more time with it. But they're a progressive band, I believe, from France. And, you know, like a lot of the progressive French bands, their music takes a little bit of time to get into. And I quite haven't wrapped my head around this one yet, but it's a pretty interesting album. You know, kind of symphonic. But, yeah, pretty good album. Have to give it more time. Then I listened to this one. This is the Nice album. Ars Longa Vita Brevis by the Nice. Really neat album. I had seen this album way back in the day and didn't know what to make of it. But, you know, influences of classical music. Of course, Keith Emerson went on to do Emerson, Lake and Palmer. There's a certain British quirkiness about this album, but I rather enjoy it. And, you know, it's got some really good songs on it as well. So, Yeah. Neat album by The Nice. Then I picked up this album too. This is Roxy, or this was given to me actually. This is a band called Roxy, and I've never heard of them. But they're just kind of more a mainstream, I guess you might say, pop rock band on Elektra Records. And I guess one of the things that kind of amazes me about this album, along with any other albums that came out back then, it just seemed like, man, the record companies would, if you could come up with some good songs, which these guys do, I wouldn't say there's anything memorable on this album. Other than, you know, they wrote some pretty good songs. And the other thing that struck me about this album was that the lead singer sounded a lot like Stephen Stills. Now, I do think Stephen Stills is a better songwriter, but just in the vocals alone, he kind of reminded me of Steve Stills. And overall, it's a pretty good album. Just 1967 album or 68 from back in the day. But, and like I said, it's on Elektra Records right here. So, yeah. So that's all I've got today. I just thought I'd check in with everybody and say hello, and hope everybody's doing well as spring and summer starts to enter the picture. Summer's not my favorite time of year, but, you know, I guess I'll hang with it. What else can I do? But anyway, just want to say hello, and that's about it. So enjoy your day. I'll talk to you later.